Babies, they're so cute, but we don't have enough of them. In fact, the global birth rate is plummeting, and here in the United States, we just had the lowest fertility rate ever. It's being called a fertility crisis. So that's not great, but why does it matter, and why aren't people having kids? Well, the answer is not the fertility fallacy that the politicians and the podcasters are selling you. It's not because women are too busy at work or because adults these days are more selfish and they just don't want kids in their lives. According to the latest United Nations report, the reason why more people aren't having kids is simple: money. So I'm going to dig into the numbers in this report in a second, but first I want to thank my paid Facts HQ subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. It was an overwhelming vote. If you want to vote on next week's bonus story and get access to other perks, make sure you follow these easy steps and become a paid subscriber too. Okay, before I get into this very interesting new report from the United Nations, I want to quickly touch on the baby situation here in the United States. At the end of July, the Centers for Disease Control said, as of 2024, the fertility rate in this country dropped to an all-time low. Less than 1.6 kids per woman ages 15 to 44. The rate needed for a population to replace itself from one generation to the next is 2.1 kids per woman. The fact is, when you're not hitting that replacement rate and there are fewer babies, in the end, you end up with a country with a larger proportion of older people who tend to be sicker and a smaller proportion of younger, healthier people who are able to work. In the United States, from the most recent high in 2007, the birth rate has declined 16% and the fertility rate has declined 22%. In the US, we are seeing birth rates decline in every single age category except for the 40 to 44-year-olds who saw a slight increase of 2% in birth rate between 2023 and 2024. And then I just want to point out the 35 to 39-year-olds are holding it steady between 2023 and 2024. But all the other age ranges, declines. And that is on trend with the fertility rate declines that we have been seeing in this country for about 20 years. And the US isn't alone. This is a chart from the World Bank Group, which keeps track of fertility rates in every country, almost. And you can see the fertility rate just crash and burn. So why is this happening? Well, the United Nations puts out this State of the World Population Report every single year. And this year they discovered the crisis isn't that people don't want kids. The crisis is they do want kids, but they are being denied the freedom to start families due to skyrocketing living costs, persistent gender inequality, and deepening uncertainty about the future. The UN surveyed thousands of people, men and women from 14 different countries, including the United States, that together represents 37% of the global population. And they found three main reasons why people are not having kids. Number 3, job insecurity. Number 2, fear for the future, everything from climate change to war. And the number 1 reason why people are not having kids, economic barriers. Money. 13% of women and 8% of men pointed to the unequal division of domestic labor as a factor for having fewer kids than they want. And the survey found that 1 in 4 felt unable to have a child at their preferred time. So how does this get fixed? Well, I'm going to tell you what the UN report suggests in a second, but lots of countries are experiencing this lack of babies, so they're pushing all kinds of baby boom schemes. President Trump, you may remember, floated the idea of maybe giving future parents a baby bonus, but that never really materialized. Instead, Congress added those Trump savings accounts to the big, beautiful bill where the U.S. government's going to kick in $1,000 to a new savings account for certain kids who are born between 2025 and 2028. Not that $1,000 is going to solve this fertility crisis in the U.S., but, I guess it's something. For the record, in the UN report, it specifically says baby bonuses are completely ineffective. Instead, the report says governments worldwide, not just in the U.S., should expand parental choices by removing barriers to becoming parents. Things like making parenthood more affordable through investments in housing, decent work, paid parental leave, and access to comprehensive reproductive health services. When it comes to that pesky problem of unequal division of domestic labor, also known as keeping the household running, the The report suggests governments should address things like the stigma against involved fathers, workplace norms that push moms out of the workforce, restrictions on reproductive rights, and here's an interesting one that maybe the podcasters in this country may want to pay attention to. The report says the government should address the widening gender gap in attitudes among the younger generations that are contributing to more people not being able to find a mate and remaining single. So if you want to read this interesting report from the United Nations for yourself, I'm going to email it out to you in my next Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up.